Hey, Michael.
Hi.
Which one's better, Reston or Herndon?
We get this question a lot from a lot of clients. And so today we really want to describe the differences between them and really just give you an idea of what it's like to live in both.
Okay. Well, and also, you know what else we're going to learn? What do you need to know if you have an electric car and you're moving to Reston? And what do you need to know if you have kids headed to Herndon High School? All right. I'm Melissa Terzis, DC Real Estate Mama. You are?
Michael, DC Metro Lifestyle.
I know, we're the DC people, and we do these videos for you every week. We break down living in DC, Maryland, and Northern Virginia. So I've been here over 20 years. He's a lifer. So we know these areas pretty well, and we actually go deeper than anybody. And we write it all ourselves. We are not AI backed here at all. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the new videos. All right, so let's dive in. I think what we should do is talk about Reston first and just kind of give you a flavor of that. And I honestly think that really seems to be where most people start their search. Is that like what you find? Okay.
Yeah, most people start in Reston, on the Dulles Toll Road, and then, they start to expand out, especially because Reston is very popular in the area.
Right.
There's a lot of word of mouth that's helped Reston to get a lot of notoriety as the place to live in Northern Virginia.
Right. It also helps that Reston was ranked by Money Magazine in 2018 as the best place to live in Virginia. All right, so I want you to tell us about the village centers, Michael, because there are a lot of them.
Yeah, so Reston has 5 village centers: Lake Anne, Hunters Woods, Tall Oaks, South Lakes, and North Point. And within each village center, there are neighborhood clusters. So if you love architecture, Reston is definitely for you. Most of the homes are mid-century or 70s contemporary vibe and have remained unchanged because of the, covenants and restrictions. Reston has really kept them, a tight kind of noose on architectural guidelines.
Oh, they have.
Yeah.
The Master Reston Association and the individual sub-associations have very strict guidelines.
Yeah.
And that's preserved the charm of the houses that are there. So it's kind of one of the things that people really look to Reston for and what they love most about it.
Yeah.
All right. So you've sold there pretty recently, so let's talk about what the prices are doing over there.
Yeah, single-family detached homes can start around in the 600s.
Yeah.
And go into the 1 millions, but half of the homes are in the $800 to $1.1 million range.
Okay.
We see it creeping up because it's still very competitive there. So townhomes range anywhere from the 300,000s on the low end up to about 1 million, but most of them are in the $400,000 to $800,000 range.
Right. And there's also condos there in Reston. I've actually done some condos with clients, and the majority of them are in the $200,000 to $600,000 range.
Yeah.
And then the houses that are waterfront, and they're going to get a much higher price than the other houses in the other, in the Reston clusters, essentially. So there are single-family homes, townhomes, and condos that are waterfront. So this was actually one of the factors that contributes to such a wide range of pricing. One of the other factors, too, that affects pricing is whether or not the townhomes or single-family homes have a garage.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of people come with their must-have, but that is a must-have on their house,
right.
or it's strongly preferred.
Right. And the original Reston clusters are older communities, so these houses didn't all have garages originally. They weren't a must-have back when these houses were built, so anything, that has a garage tends to get a higher sales price and be more in demand.
Yeah.
And I think, too, the suburban buyers, they're just more focused on the homes with the garages. So this creates more demand for those as well.
Yes.
And then, we're learning more, too, about how Reston is sort of approaching this, revolution of the electric car. So do you want to talk about, the demand and how that's playing into it?
Yeah. And so, this is pushing up demand for private parking spaces, and so, because they need overnight charging. So it's not something, especially with non-Tesla cars, a lot of them take, 6 to 7 hours to charge. Oof. So that's a big deal. So, it's really, a pro tip. If you have an electric car, you need to know about all of this. The Reston Association hasn't really budged much on allowing homeowners to install them.
Surprise.
Yeah. But there are more people pushing for it. So, or they're doing it next to their assigned parking spaces. And so there's, some allotment for, wiring, further away from the home. And so we may see it change you know,
we may.
But it's going to take a while.
Yeah, and it's like if the association allows, and I feel like those things are always sort of, you know, you've got that one guy that got the electric car and nobody cared about it, and then as you see more and more electric cars, the the individual associations are having to make, like, you know, changes to allow that. Now, the condos in Reston have a broad range in sales price, and the wide price span is really due to both like high condo fees that are associated with certain communities and if they are waterfront or water view.
Yeah.
So many of the older communities in Reston have condo fees that exceed $600 a month.
It's a lot for Virginia.
It is. We don't really tend to see that unless you like are in a high rise that has pool on the roof, and so their master insurance policy has to be pretty expensive to cover all of that, plus staff and things like that.
Yeah.
So when condo fees are higher, obviously appreciation tends to be a little bit more stunted. It does affect a buyer's purchasing power if they are using financing. And then there are they're not all older communities of condos in Reston. Like there are newer condo communities, right?
Yeah. There was a really cool 1,700 square foot newer condo right near the metro.
Okay.
And clients really liked it. Yeah. And it was beautiful, 10-foot ceilings and everything.
Yeah. And Reston Town Center, they're newer in Reston Town Center as well. And they tend to have more walkability to restaurants and shopping and entertainment. And so you are seeing buyers move from Arlington to Reston.
Oh, yeah. And that's what the walkability is one of the things that it's attracting them.
Right. People are leaving, like they'll leave Old Town, they're leaving Alexandria, DC, and they find these condos pretty desirable and affordable.
Yeah.
And just more familiar maybe to their way of life, which, you know, in turn creates more interest and then increases competition for these units.
Yeah.
All right. So
walkability really affects the single family homes and townhomes as well. The closer you are to the village centers or the Reston Town Center, the more in demand will be for your home.
Yeah.
So Reston has done such an excellent job marrying walkability and green space. Honestly, I think it's probably the best in the area.
Yeah. I think Reston's green space is it just provides more opportunities for activities, and honestly, it kind of makes, I always say this, and you laugh at me, but it makes like the everyday life feel like being on vacation. But
it does.
I listed and sold a condo for a client in Reston, and it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and it was in the 300s. It was like such a steal. And you open up the balcony door and you're facing this like gorgeous greenway of path and trails and all that, and the community has a pool. I'm like, well, this is like a resort lifestyle in a way, which is just really cool. It just feels more like a vacation compared to living in many of the other cities and towns in like Northern Virginia. You do have things like the Walker Nature Center. You got the W&OD Trail, multiple community lakes, pools, tons of walking trails, the Nova Wild Animal Center that keeps changing names.
Yes.
It was the Reston Zoo.
Yes.
Then it was the Rower Zoo. Now it's Nova Wild.
Yeah.
And then there's like a robust arts community as well, where there's sort of activities for every level of interest. And so for a full list of activities, we did videos on Reston. And so we've got a lot of that stuff kind of outlined in there.
Yeah, check them out.
All right.
So let's talk about Herndon.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, Herndon has been one of those places that people would move to if they couldn't afford Reston.
Totally.
Yeah, but things have changed now that the two areas are considered just like adjacent to each other.
Right.
So they're adjacent towns that are offering, different things, different lifestyles.
Yeah.
But, ultimately they're so close that you can take advantage of both.
Right.
And the historic downtown of Herndon is incredibly charming.
I know, you love that place.
I do, yeah. Yeah, it's walkable, and it connects to the W&OD Trail, which I think is really cool. Mm-hmm. And we also love the variety of architecture in Herndon. There is a really good amount, and I think it's, it gives you choices.
Right. Yeah,
So,
you have everything from there's historic homes there, mid-century architecture, new construction, there's craftsman-style homes, traditional colonials. Single-family homes there range from the low 400s to 1.8 million, and many of the single-family homes in Herndon have pretty large lots with mature, landscaping and trees.
Yeah.
There's also townhomes. There's townhome communities that are all over Herndon, and they feature sort of both the older townhome, which is from the 60s to 80s, that's typically like brick construction, and then there's newer construction that are brick and siding, and those kind of range from the 90s into the present time. Townhomes have a price range of $325 to $900.
It's pretty broad.
Yeah, it's a pretty wide range. Townhomes in the higher price point actually really live like single-family homes. They often have 2-car garages.
Yeah, we have one client who is 2,700 square feet.
Wow.
In a townhome in Herndon.
That's
massive.
bigger than a lot of houses.
Yeah, it's a 2-car garage.
Yeah. And then there's condos that range from sort of the single level garden style condos. There's mid-rise buildings, and then there's 2 or 3 story townhome style condominiums. Prices on those are pretty affordable when you dial it back to a condo. You're looking like below $200,000 mark, 190 to 700,000.
Yeah, just be prepared on those like lower end condos, like lower on the price range. They tend to have higher condo fees. So the price tag might look attractive, but the condo fees themselves.
And people get drawn into that because a lot of the online portals with various sites that you might look at real estate, they're not always like upfront telling you exactly what the condo fee is. You have to dig for it a little bit. So
yes,
that's important to know.
Yeah.
All right.
What is there to do in Herndon?
There's fun stuff. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, Herndon is home to Frying Pan Park, which is one of the parks that I love the most in Northern Virginia. Mm-hmm. It's one of the most well-known parks in the entire area.
Right.
It hosts many activities and festivals for everybody, of all ages.
Right.
So, themed festivals include the Farm Harvest Days, Fall Carnival, which is really fun, Big Truck Night, and Halloween on the Farm. Halloween on the Farm is actually really fun.
Big Truck Night.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. It also offers adult fitness, art, dance, dog classes, kid summers camps, classes for toddlers, through adults, family programs, a licensed preschool, and also horseback riding lessons, which are pretty awesome.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah, because a lot of clients know that I'm in the horse community, with growing up with horses, and they always ask where horseback riding lessons are, and Frying Pan is one of them in the toll road corridor.
Yeah.
Other than driving out to like Middleburg or Purcellville.
Right, on the Virginia side, and then there's places in Maryland too, but yeah, Virginia is definitely more horse country.
Yeah, and as a 4-H kid growing up, I love the fact that the farm has a variety of livestock for everybody to participate in 4-H club.
Did you kill any of your goats?
No.
Okay. Please don't tell me that.
The club focuses on basic animal science, livestock, showmanship, and leadership.
Okay.
And members participate in the club in park-sponsored events, county and state 4-H competitions, which I did, and livestock shows such as the annual Fairfax County 4-H Fair and Carnival.
All right. They didn't come remember, like in California a few months ago, they like went and took a goat from a girl that raised it for 4-H, and they were like, you don't remember this?
Yeah.
Oh, they took it from her.
Yeah.
They like went to her house and took the goat. I mean, I would be, that would be the end for me. I would be like, give me back my goat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like that. It's really cool. And new members can register between August to February.
Ooh, we're coming up on the season.
Yeah. It's a really fun program. We actually used to compete against 4-H because I was out in Fauquier. Mm-hmm. And 4-H, the Fairfax County 4-H was actually one of our competitors in the shows.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, Herndon is also home to a pretty cool arts district, Hunters Creek Swim Club and Racquet Club, and you've also got like the Herndon Swim Club, and then there's other smaller parks. You can also go to the farmers market. Michael, I'm sure you've been there.
Yes, it's awesome.
There's also other community events that are sponsored by the town of Herndon throughout the year. All right, now we have to talk about something in Herndon that's not so good. All right, so there's something you have to know about the schools. The high schools, like a few of the schools are not in a great spot right now. Herndon High School ranks as a 2 on great schools. So here's kind of what I can tell you about the lay of the land right now. You probably don't want to send your kid there if you have a choice. There's been a lot of turmoil the past school year. The principal instituted something called standards-based grading. Now you can read about standards-based grading. We're actually going to link that. But essentially what it like is, the premise of it is to change like what we know as the A, B, C range into numbers that describe kind of like what you got in elementary school. Like remember like NS, S, VG, like very good, whatever, exceeds, all that. It's like 1, 2, 3, and 4. And based on whatever that, that scale is, 1 might be you haven't learned any of the material, and 4 might be you completely grasp it and you're ready to move on. Regardless, they were going to change that. And then to sort of get there, they were allowing students like multiple retakes on things. And like initially the way that the principal sort of like presented this to the parents said that it was because they wanted to improve, she was trying to improve attendance overall at the school. And the parents didn't really understand what that meant. And so there was a lot of questions about it. Then as the school year went on, the parents who had kids that were doing what they were supposed to be doing were Like, why does, Bob over there get to retake this test 5 times and I had to take it the first time and I got the A? The other thing they did was they took the 0 to 50 grading scale away, right? So like, let's say like you had a 5-question test and you got, 1 right and 4 wrong, you'd be at 20%, but it's still failing. They took that away. They basically now just grade from 50 to 100. And so this was like completely an outrage because people were like, basically what you did is just lower the bar, which is basically what they did, right? So, the reports say that teachers weren't trained on standards-based grading and that people's grades were dropping. And so after dodging the parents all year, they finally called it out, where it became a pretty combative situation between parents, teachers, and administration at the school. So in a school where you already have 1/3 of your population that is classified as an English language learner, this was not a good look for them at all, and definitely not a good move. So this is really the one downside. The high school in Reston, South Lakes, is in a better spot. They've got a 6 out of 10 on great schools. And there's always redistricting kind of in play and potentially that comes up all the time.
Yeah.
But the one thing that people were saying was like 160 kids basically transferred out of Herndon to Reston.
Yeah.
And then the Herndon families were like, we actually lost some like kids that, were, the higher achieving kids essentially like got out of there.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, all right. How do you choose? Michael, I'm going to put that in your court because these 2 areas are your wheelhouse. You know these. So how do you choose?
Yeah, I feel like we're playing the dating game, and Reston is bachelor number 1 and Herndon is bachelor number 2.
Aw.
Yeah. Now it's time to ask each bachelor, a set of questions to see which one will be the best fit. Dun, dun, dun.
I know. Well, but that's really, I always say finding your house in real estate's a lot like dating. When you meet the one, you know it.
Yeah. So why is it that so many buyers start their search in Reston and expand into Herndon?
Why?
Honestly, our experience has been that buyers expand their map search in the real estate apps, and then they begin to realize that their dollar goes further.
Well, yeah.
And so in neighboring Herndon, and so it's hard to ignore the cost savings.
Right.
With so much hype around Reston, it really gives people pause and gets them nervous that Herndon may be an inferior choice. So there isn't as much online chatter about Herndon.
No. There's not.
Yeah, and in comparison to Reston, this kind of adds fuel to the fire.
Right. And I feel like there hasn't been a lot of it. Like, it really is like what we said in the beginning and what you were saying was like people sort of like ended up in Herndon when they didn't get to Reston. But now it just kind of depends, right? So I think we're here to tell you that like you're not going to make a wrong choice, right?
Yeah.
Herndon is so close to Reston that you can still take advantage of a lot of the Reston amenities and activities, even if you are not a member of the Reston HOA.
Yeah.
Same thing goes if you purchase in Reston. Access to the pools and HOA amenities like tennis courts, basketball courts, tot lots in Reston are generally restricted to homeowners, but the walking trails are free to use and community events held at Lake Ann are generally open to the public.
Yeah.
So in Herndon, it's really like Reston Town Center, it's like 3 blocks and then you're like basically at Herndon, right?
Yeah.
Like it's really close, and all of the other awesome shopping that's in Reston.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Yeah, I mean it's vice versa. You're close to downtown Herndon as well,
right?
And you can shop at the farmers market. You can enjoy the other shops that are in town. You can also eat some pretty amazing food at all the great Herndon restaurants, and definitely check out our video on Herndon for lots of great recommendations for restaurants and things to do.
Right. All right, so sort of summing this up, I would say Herndon is generally more affordable and has a larger selection of homes with larger lots. If you love the contemporary and mid-century architecture of Reston, but you feel like the price point's too high, you can find that in Herndon. You just, you'll have to look, but they aren't as abundant as they are in Reston. And you're going to find a pretty even mix of architectural styles in Herndon. Herndon has some stunning old homes that are on tree-lined streets.
I love them.
Yeah, very charming, walkable to downtown. So
everyone loves the architecture, but in Reston, but you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And the townhomes in Reston that have a larger footprint, they're cresting in now to the $700,000 to $1 million range.
Yeah.
And many of the single-family homes are now over $1 million.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
They're incredibly competitive in most cases. So we can advise you on how to bring your A game when making an offer, but you definitely have to go in prepped that you're going to spend money for it.
Right. So, and then Reston has just like more dense forests and vegetation than Herndon, but there are plenty of areas in Herndon with like the lush, mature landscaping. You just, like you were saying, like you have to look for that. So don't feel like you're going to miss out on nature if you don't live in Reston.
Yeah, exactly. Right? and both localities have metro stops, and it really isn't much of a difference in commute times on the train.
No, it's just a stop.
Yeah, and one of the things I love is a lot of the mid-priced homes, townhomes, are actually walkable to the metro in Herndon, which is super cool. So, drive times will be longer in Herndon, but if you're headed to Tysons or DC, but it isn't that significant.
Right.
Both Reston and Herndon are accessible, from highways and local roads, so they're easy to access and get around to other areas.
Right. And the Dulles Toll Road is the easiest and most convenient route. But it is a toll road, so be prepared to pay to use it.
Yeah.
Route 7's not a toll road, but it gets slow at points. There's a lot of lights. And the Route 7 expansion has definitely helped to ease traffic, though.
It is making a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say price versus lifestyle is actually probably going to be the biggest driving factors on the decision.
Agreed.
You kind of have to decide what amenities are important to you and what do you want to spend to get that, right? Because of Reston's focus on walkability and green space, the real estate in Reston is more in demand overall. But if schools and more of a planned community are your priority, then Reston's probably your place, right?
Yeah.
If schools are not an issue and you want your dollar to go farther, Herndon's probably where you should look. We don't think you're going to make a bad choice here, right?
No, they're both amazing areas with metro accessibility, farmers market. They both have access to the WNOD trail, tons of community activities for anyone at every age, and you just can't go wrong with either area. And because they're so close together, you can still enjoy both of them, and that's what we really want to hit home with.
Right. All right, so that's Reston and Herndon. Our contact info is coming next. If you have any questions or you want to investigate moving there, let us know.